Hello, this is your wise-ass astrologer telling you to march to the beat of your own drummer, or march to the beat of your own neurolinguistic program. Well, it is March, so are you trying to neurolinguistically program us to be a wise-ass? Is that what this is all about? Being young and easy and wide-eyed at the spring equinox and ripe to be programmed? Okay, sure. Jupiter in Aries can be wide-eyed, without a doubt. And it is true that with Jupiter in Aries presiding over the ears and brain, we hear suggestive words. Just hear how certain things sound, and sometimes that dictates how we move forward. But no, I'm not trying to neurolinguistically program you. We can be sensitive without having to tread lightly like a timid cat right now. Now, no offense to all my cool cats watching this video, who can really drive the beat in a sensitive way. I'm sensitive to your wiring and I dig it, but we don't want to step hesitantly like a scared cat who's afraid to trigger anybody's wires and offend people. That's the main message of Jupiter in Aries ruling and driving Saturn in Pisces. Don't pussyfoot around. It's about not pussyfooting around. We are a cat with an idea in our hat, and that idea is to be a cool cat and really put our foot down on that bass drum for a driving and heavy beat. So we are going to talk about what that means. We are going to build off the ideas from my last video, the Jupiter and Aries ideas from the last video, because Saturn is about how we build. And when Saturn is in the sign of Pisces, it focuses on how we can accept a springboard to get our project off of the ground. A springboard that perhaps no one else wanted. That is the emphasis right now. If you're using Jupiter and Aries to go cliff diving in life, just diving headfirst off of a cliff, well, Saturn in Pisces is going to have to land on its feet, and it has to look for some springs on the ocean floor to bounce back up off of upon landing. We are diving from the top to the bottom and then bouncing back up. If your Gucci shoes get waterlogged, tell them to tough it out and stand tall. If you and your Armani shoes step in fish crap at the bottom of the creek, big bloody deal. So what? Accept it and wash them off. If we get our feet dirty, we have to be quick to clean them, especially when Mercury in Aries conjuncts Jupiter in late March. Saturn in Pisces is practical for your feet. I'm not so sure those fish pedicures, by the way, are totally safe and practical for your feet, although feel free to correct me if I'm wrong. But the bigger question here is, are Armani shoes practical? Oh sure, they'll make a quick first impression with Jupiter in Aries. They look good, but does Saturn in Pisces think it's walking on solid ground with that? Okay, I did actually just check online. Armani does actually make hiking boots. You can buy the cheaper 100% polyester Emporio Armani hiking boots for $245 US, but the expensive Giorgio Armani hiking boots are $1,700 US. But those are indeed 100% real leather that meets the Saturn in Pisces sturdy standards for footwear. Because that's the most important thing right now with marching to the sound of your own drummer, is that the first step has to be solid. You have to know right away that it's solid. Saturn in Pisces is trying to ground the Jupiter in Aries brain. Jupiter in Aries is looking and searching for a solid plane to walk on. And Saturn in Pisces will provide a solid plane to walk on. And you could dig the sound of your own beat, but don't let Jupiter in Aries make your head too big, or you'll step in something unpleasant. But you're a Scorpio, wise ass, so how do we know that all your talk about not pussyfooting around isn't part of some perverted neurolinguistic program you designed for us? Like 50 shades of perverted ass Scorpio, each shade more mysterious and more perverted than the next. Okay, I'll respond to that. Like, say Mars was in Pisces, and say that Mars in Pisces was both ruling and making a trine to some planet in Scorpio. That's a sexual game of footsie, so that context would be something different. It would be the toes gliding upwards on someone's Scorpio sex zone in a way that's a bit manipulative. So if those were the transits, and I'm talking about pussyfooting around, then yes, you absolutely would have every right to be suspicious about my intentions with my choice of verbs. But Jupiter in Aries is new at this, so it's not that manipulative. It will make the brain open to aggressive ideas, to be sure, but with its influence on Saturn in Pisces, it's more like an aggressive ballerina. It's pointing the toes down, not up. It accepts the responsibility of being first in its ballet class, and dips the toes down into the water very aggressively. It's like an aggressive child trying things out and sensitively absorbing the outcome of their explorations, and accepting the experience as something to build off of. We want to understand context right away. We have to know up front where things are headed right now. And if we don't understand context from the start, some of the things that we are very sensitive about can be triggered. Jupiter in Aries will explore things just because it can. So that's why it is so very important to understand the context of the exploration. If Jupiter in Aries is being a bully, then Saturn in Pisces will swamp Jupiter in Aries with heaviness as it lands. Jupiter will land in a swamp at your feet. It will dive headfirst into a heavy swamp. And if you fight with overeager fools, you may have to trudge through all the sensitive things in life you never fully worked through. So if this happens, just allow others to be a jerk, because you're ahead of the game and can see that they are going to have to accept a tough lesson. And you might want to lay down the law and cancel Jupiter in Aries' expedition if it tries to fly in the face of cancel culture. And maybe you will be successful with that, but you will still be left trying to climb out of a swamp of your own sensitivities. So don't engage in a battle with someone whose only foresight is to be a bully and sink you, because that is the only plan in their head. And if you sink yourself to their primitive level and engage in arguments with people who have underdeveloped viewpoints and perspective, you'll end up trying to climb out of a swamp. So be preemptive and move on. So I have to practice what I preach, which means right now I'm going to preemptively tell anyone who is going to leave negative comments for me that they can go screw themselves, so I won't have to waste my time engaging with them. And that advice basically mimics what my friend Nadiya has told me, that I shouldn't waste my time with nincompoops. Nadiya says to me, "You're very wise, wiseass, especially for someone who's not Canadian. But why do you waste your time arguing with idiots?" But I have my natal Jupiter in Libra. And Nadiya, well, let's just say that she doesn't have Jupiter in Libra. Anyway, so what I'm saying is, if you leave negative comments for me, normally my natal Venus will in midheaven in Libra, and my natal Jupiter in Libra will be very polite, and I will thank you for your feedback, and I will engage in a debate. But Nadiya, on the other hand, will think you're an idiot. That's if she even bothers to waste 2 seconds of her life on your moronic criticisms at all. So I will follow her lead this time. Now for the ideal way for Jupiter in Aries to work with Saturn in Pisces. When we understand the context right away, we see that people, whether others or maybe even ourselves, we see that they aren't exploring ideas in an assertive and aggressive way to be insensitive or mean, but rather in a way that allows us to be upfront and honest about our sensitivities and things we have to work through. The great thing about this is that it triggers these sensitivities in a good way, instantly. Like we don't have to be involved in any preamble or anxiety with explaining ourselves. We are just instantly accepted. And the sensitivity about our obstacles that we carry with us is instantly accepted. And we know right away who actually wants to accept us and what we are working through in life, who's actually really eager to accept what we are working through. And we ourselves are also able to eagerly accept the challenges that we've been swamped and flooded by. We sensitively climb our way to the top of our spiritual staircase, using the Jupiter in Aries eyes to look down at the clear, transparent staircase. And beneath each Saturn in Pisces step, we see the fish and sea creatures below that are holding the structure of the staircase up and supporting our climb to the top. So to recap, being sensitive without understanding context can be a problem with Jupiter in Aries driving Saturn in Pisces. Jupiter in Aries has to hear and understand tone. If someone gives me a hard time and is ribbing me right now, Jupiter in Aries will use the ears and brain and listen to the tone, and it can understand if someone's being mean and trying to put me down, or if they are saying it in a fun-loving way. Saturn in Pisces will accept the latter, but not if it senses the tone is insensitive. That's the problem nowadays when everything is taken literally, without context. Our brain loses the ability to process things on multiple levels. And that is the most important thing we have learned with Mars and Gemini driving Jupiter in Aries. It's that we have used our brains to process things on multiple levels in the last 7 months. The higher lesson of Mars and Gemini and Jupiter in Aries the past 7 months has been to teach the brain to be versatile, not trendy. Oh, and do calf raises. That is when you stand up on your tippy toes and then come back down again in order to strengthen your calves. That is the official motion of Saturn in Pisces. That is the exercise that is best represented by Saturn in Pisces. And be very careful with wearing high heels. Make sure your calves don't get tight. Jupiter in Aries may make you eager to be a head above people and see the world with a higher perspective. But don't screw up your posture. So accept whatever foundational support you've been given in life, and it will somehow work out. My posture is not great. I usually am a head above people, and I'm always hunching over like an avocado tree. And speaking of ripe, luscious, and green avocados, let's talk about Venus and Uranus in Taurus. Venus is now in Taurus. one of its two home signs. So it is also ruling Uranus in Taurus, which it will be making a conjunction to on March 30th. And we will be steadily building up to that in true Taurus fashion. Venus in Taurus is patient and likes to luxuriate in a way that is calm, peaceful, natural, and earthy. It also presides over the lower jaw, tongue, and neck, and it provides a beautiful natural flavor profile for the taste buds, as it enjoys licking, chewing, and sucking away very peacefully, ignorant to everything else as it enjoys the simple pleasures. And when Uranus is there with it, as it is now, it likes to do this in ways that are very different, novel, strange, or shocking, and with timing that can be very sudden or out of nowhere. So let's use my own birth chart as an example. Right now, Venus and Uranus in Taurus are transiting my 4th house, although my actual 4th house cusp is in Aries, but that's beside the point. The 4th house represents the home, the dwelling place. So I am going to sit at home and eat guacamole in a way that's natural. Maybe I'll be a naturist and sit at home naked and eat avocados like they did in the Garden of Eden, and be blissfully unaware of all the turmoil in the outside world. So I might as well engage in this now, to show that on Nadiya's channel, she lets all the stars shine naked in their natural beauty. And maybe avocados isn't your thing. That's very presumptuous of me to assume you're into avocados, that that's your thing. Maybe you just want to have steady oral sex for 50 hours straight. I mean, with something other than an avocado. But even if you find it pleasurable, if you ignore when it might be a good time to take a break, your jaw might feel a bit strange after a while, especially if you do this continuously from March 23rd to March 25th, when Venus, the Moon, and Uranus are all in Taurus. Fine, whatever, just don't say I didn't warn you. No, you know what? I'm actually going to say this again, because with Venus and Taurus, we have to reiterate things calmly and in a very nice and soothing voice. So, like I said before, with Venus and Uranus in Taurus, maybe you want to prove your worth by being loyal and continuous and loving, but after a time, your jaw might be an issue. Maybe your partner has a lot of Taurus energy in their chart, and they are stubbornly holding out on climaxing, just milking it for all it's worth, enjoying it blissfully, basking in the pleasure. And that's fine, there's nothing wrong with that. But your jaw, tongue, or neck might have an issue after a while. So no matter what or who you're having oral sex with, whether it's an avocado, a prime rib, or a prime minister, it's important that Uranus is secure in itself enough to be able to suddenly blurt out that you have to take a break. That is how Uranus is ideally used. Uranus knows that even if things are going along smoothly, sometimes we have an intuition that we need to take a sudden break from things and start back up again later. And right now, this break might call on you to do something out of the ordinary and engage in something different or exotic to keep you steady. So again, if you are giving oral sex and you suddenly need to take a break, do just that. Take a break and grab a snack. Uranus might ask you to have a fruit that's something more different or more exotic than just your run-of-the-mill avocado. Maybe like a kumquat or something, or an organic kumquat, because Taurus likes it better if it's natural and organic. But I want to reassure you that I am not trying to neurolinguistically program you. Venus in Taurus is all about reassuring beauty, and when coupled with Uranus, it uses the throat to pronounce words very sensually, so they roll off the tongue in a calm yet unusual way, and then it calmly and steadily repeats whatever it has just said over and over again. And I want to use Venus in Taurus right now to again steadily reassure you that I'm not trying to neurolinguistically program you. And I want to use Venus in Taurus right now to again steadily reassure you that I'm not trying to neurolinguistically program you. Sit there and make your chosen fruit wait to be eaten. It will get shockingly ripe and juicy, but you are going to patiently make that fruit wait for your pleasure. And also, whatever fruit you do eat in the next few weeks, you might find yourself being shockingly loyal to it and not cheating on it with other fruits. Also on the topic of sex and avocados, it has been noted that fruits like avocados and mangoes might be beneficial for fertility as they provide vitamins and minerals to boost both sperm count and motility. Astrologically speaking, all these factors will be very strong on April 7th and April 8th of this year, 2023, when Mars in Cancer will be making a harmonious 120-degree trine to the moon in Scorpio. In addition, both Mars and the moon will be in mutual reception, meaning Mars in Cancer is placed in the sign of the moon, and the moon in Scorpio is placed in the sign of Mars. In the sign of Cancer, which has to do with the stomach and the breast, Mars goes after a nourishing meal, and in the sign of Scorpio, the moon has good instincts for sexuality. This will be in addition to Venus, Uranus, and Mercury being in Taurus on April 7th and April 8th, which will make us aware of natural fruits and vegetables and the value that they have. So if you are trying to conceive, load up on avocados and mangoes in late March and early April. And as much as people say watch out for tomatoes and stomach acid when Mars is in Cancer, Mars does rule the sign of Scorpio, and tomatoes do contain lycopene, which is good for Scorpio prostate health. Okay, so now to the part where I talk about the Beatles, which I do in all my videos, because I make it a priority to talk about the most important things in life and astrology. It's common knowledge that Paul McCartney has his natal Venus in Taurus in his birth chart, and that he has been a vegan for many years. Well, it's common knowledge to those who live in my brain at least. Wait a second, wiseass. Are you saying that Paul McCartney has been having oral sex with the same avocado ever since the Beatles broke up? His Venus in Taurus is that loyal? Ew! Like he just takes the same avocado out of his pocket and nibbles at it every so often? Ew! No, that's not what I was trying to say. All right, fine. I'll use the Beatles example having to do with Jupiter in Aries ruling Saturn in Pisces this time. Beatlemania, early spring of 1964. Jupiter was in Aries, Saturn was in Pisces, just like it is today. What did the Beatles learn to accept? The Beatles' popularity exploded very quickly, and then they had to accept the weight of it all, and accept the responsibility that came with that. Now back to your current Venus in Taurus. A possessive Venus in Taurus that is unhappy that I briefly left it to talk about something else, but Uranus needed a sudden and momentary break. Venus in Taurus will offer us a steady diet of compliments while it slowly and steadily ripens as it moves through its home sign. And hopefully your partner, no matter who or what your partner is, even if your partner is an old-fashioned Taurus avocado, well, hopefully they will say thank you in a sensual way for any oral sex you give them, and that the pleasure they received improves their self-worth. And I want to say thank you to Nadiya and her assistant Gilbert for allowing me to do this video on their channel. Doing this video was very sensual and pleasurable for me and has improved my self-worth. Hopefully you found my video pleasurable too. So peace, love, stars, and listen to the Beatles. And now listen to me steadily pleasuring my piano.